The Dark Cosmos. Stay cosmic. The first thing I was aware of was my breathing. I came back to life with a deep gasp for air. The rest happened in an instant, although it felt like a lifetime. All my senses, my entire body woke up as if I was struck by lightning. My heart started pumping rapidly. My ears filled with the sounds of electronic beeps and hums. Every inch of my skin tingled, as if I had stepped out under the heat of the sun after a glacial winter. I knew my hands and feet started to tremble, until, with one violent full-body shiver, I finally woke up. I opened my eyes. My brain struggled, but succeeded in catching up, and my surroundings registered in my mind. I was still inside the cryosleep capsule. I heard the artificial voice of the computer review my vital signs.
Subject's name, Hazel Johnson. Status, optimal. Heart rate stabilizing. Fundamental organs in ideal condition. Body functions intact. No complications detected on the subject.
I breathed out a sigh of relief after hearing all of that. The light grey gas was slowly evaporating after it had filled the capsule for 50 years, keeping my mind unconscious and my body perfectly preserved. It was time to come back to life. The top of the capsule opened up with a click that, to me, sounded glorious. It was the start of a new life. Millions of people had escaped from planet Earth after the nuclear war had started, and an even bigger number of us had died back home. I was unmeasurably lucky to earn a place at the YellowLight spaceship. Along with thousands of people, I would sleep for 50 years until we reached a new planet to call home. A faraway place where we would meet up with other survivors to start again. The crew of YellowLight would live here and pilot the ship for as many years as they could until they had to wake up a different generation to go on with their job. Meanwhile, the rest of us slept peacefully and unchanged for half a century. Or, at least, that's what I thought had happened. After the lip of the capsule was completely removed, I had my first hint that there was something wrong at the YellowLight. After such a long sleep, I was eager to bring my body to work, and I cherished every move I made. I took a deep, deep breath. I knew I wouldn't receive exactly fresh air as if I were back on Earth, but I remembered the clean and crisp air of the ship before falling asleep. Instead, I was met with a foul, shocking, truly disgusting smell invading my senses. I gagged at the scent and tried to look around for an answer. It smelled like the dirty puddles of water left behind after a street market, after a truck picks up the trash of a busy neighborhood, after all the contents of a fridge go bad and rot for days. I couldn't believe something so impure could have a place in the pristine ship I remembered from 50 years ago. When I looked around, I felt a spark of anxiety flare up in my chest. All the other cryosleep capsules were open, and the lids were gone, just like mine. But where was everybody? Where were all the other bodies? I sat up and looked around, but I couldn't see a single soul wandering the countless hallways. The large space designated to accommodate the cryosleep capsules was desolated. The YellowLight ship was eerily quiet. I could only hear the faint but ever-present hum of the momentarily powerful engines and the whispers of the air coming through the vents, which wasn't enough to hide the smell of decay in the atmosphere. When a computer's voice spoke up again, I was so startled I fell back down on my capsule, and I lay looking up at the screen descending from the ceiling, officially welcoming me to my worst nightmare.
Good morning, passenger. Hazel Johnson. Welcome again to the YellowLight. We hope you had a restful sleep. It has been 98 years since we departed from planet Earth.
Right away, I knew something was wrong. 98 years? We were meant to arrive at our destination in just 50 years. The computer's voice was unsettlingly cheerful. The pauses between prepared messages and updated information were ominous, and the worst was yet to come.
Are you excited to reach your destination? Soon we will arrive at destination unknown. Almost there. The time left is just arrival time unclear. In the meantime, there is plenty to do on the YellowLight facilities. Take a look. We have.
Then, I thought the computer made a pause, but really, it turned out it had nothing left to say. The screen showed me glimpses of live feed from every hallway, gate, room, and hall of the spaceship. It was all absolutely deserted. There was a ringing in my ears, and my heart rate was picking up. I had never felt so scared in my entire life. And then, the lid of my capsule started closing up again. I panicked and said, Wait, what's going on? No, don't close! But even as I tried to sneak away, it was all useless. The glass was too quick. It would have cut my fingers off if I left them in the opening. I was officially trapped. But before I could think of a way out or anything else, I was scared out of my skin when a face peered down at me from outside. I couldn't repress the horrified scream that came out of me at that moment. It was the worst face I had ever seen. His skin was sickly grey, with odd patches of green here and there. His cheekbones and jaw protruded unnaturally, or maybe his skin was reduced to just a thin membrane, sticking to his bones with little to no muscles whatsoever underneath. There were a few strands of grey hair still sticking to his scalp, but with too many bald spots in between. His eyes were wide and crazed, bloodshot, unlike any other eyes I had ever seen. But somehow, the most unsettling part was his smile. It was a picture-fucking-perfect smile. Worst of all, I had seen it before. "Captain Robinson?" I exclaimed. I started hitting the glass above me repeatedly, hoping to get his help and his attention, as if he wasn't already looking down directly at me. My mind ran with hopeful theories. There was malfunction. The computer's data and images were wrong. He came to rescue me, and everyone else was busy around the ship preparing for landing. Obviously, I was wrong.
Hazel Johnson, we finally meet,
he said, giving me a soulless grin.
You're the last living passenger of the YellowLight. Don't feel so special, though. This is merely a coincidence. We really did pick you one by one at random.
I was growing more and more worried with each passing second, but I attempted to get answers from him. I asked, "What's going on? What happened to everyone else? Has it really been 98 years? Where are we, and how the fuck are you still alive?" The man frowned and sighed, which made me glad there was still a glass lid separating us. He told me,
This is nothing you should worry about, dear. You'll go back to sleep in no time. I jest. It's been a while since I've talked to a passenger. I was hoping to see the last one of you alive, at least for the moment.
"What? Why?" I snapped, and started hitting the top of the capsule again, at least enough to startle him. "Tell me what happened!" I demanded.
Oh, shut up!
He yelled at me. He also slapped the lid of the capsule, but it barely made a sound. He was really just skin and bone. No strength or power in that decrepit body. After a couple of breaths, he seemed to calm down, and he said,
I guess I could indulge you and give you an answer. You'll get some privileges for being the last meal I'll have from the original passengers.
I thought I must have heard wrong, so I asked him, "What the hell does that mean?" but Captain Robinson only held up a hand to keep me quiet. Then he smiled devilishly and started talking.
Put yourself in my place, Hazel Johnson. I was a highly esteemed pilot back on Earth. I was honored to be the captain of the YellowLight, one of the ships that would save a small portion of humanity. But then, they told me we had to travel for 50 years. I was already 56 years old at the time, Hazel. There's no way I was going to survive that long. Did they think of letting us take turns or switch with the sleeping crew? No! They wanted us to die for the ship. Luckily for me, though, I wasn't alone. This ship is the most technologically advanced creation of humankind, and the crew included the brightest scientists in the world. After working and worrying and doubting for 20 years, one of the engineers found the solution in the infirmary of the ship. Do you think these capsules are special for keeping you alive for a century? No. The real miracle is killing you slowly, draining you of everything you have to keep someone else alive. It's kind of poetic, don't you think?
A deadly silence followed his words. I felt nauseous and claustrophobic. I wished with everything I had that this was just a dream. Instead, I started hearing a new kind of electronic beeping coming from outside my capsule. Oh shit, I thought. He's messing with the controls. He's really putting me back to sleep. Forever now. Wait! I exclaimed and hit the glass again, desperate to distract him. Does that mean you killed thousands of people?
Well, I had to live thousands of days,
he told me, matter-of-factly, before his expression soured.
You don't get it. No one else could understand why we did the things we did. We tried to preserve you. We tried not to feed. But after the first time, aging was too painful, too dangerous. There were 10 of us. We tried to kill one person for each of us a month. But our bodies demanded more and more. One each week. It was awful. But we changed the course of the ship, and we were free. We were immortal. Who else could say that? There were prices, of course. Jesus, I haven't shed a tear in decades. I'm barely human. But I'm immortal, for fuck's sake. I couldn't stop at any cost, and I won't.
This was working. I just had to get him to keep talking until I figured a way out. So, is that it? You don't even feel remorse? I asked him. You're a cannibal. A vampire.
No! This isn't a joke! This is science!
Captain Robinson yelled, slamming the palms of his hands against the glass with each word, and again, barely making it sound under his feeble weight.
The YellowLight's original crew is responsible for the greatest achievement in human history: immortality! You wouldn't get it. This is about much more than a simple blood transfusion. I'm talking about absorbing everything, all your cells pulled into my body to restore mine. I estimate that not an inch of my bones or a drop of my blood still belongs to the man I was 70 years ago.
Whatever I had planned to say died in my throat when I realized that from out of somewhere, at the bottom of the capsule, a light grey smoke was starting to come out. I only had minutes before I would be gone. So, what's your plan then, Robinson? I asked him, not caring if he heard the desperation in my voice. What will you do after you kill me? I'm the last one, asshole. Are you going to die anyway? The monster had the nerve to smile at me. He was delighted by the words he said next. He asked me,
"Did you know there are still some survivors back on Earth? We couldn't fit everyone in the escape ships, of course. We were almost there, in fact. I just need to pick a few desperate souls to fill my fridge. Then I'll go on alone, timeless and unstoppable as a god."
The smoke was rising fast. I couldn't tell if it was just my fear or an actual effect of it, but I was growing so cold, and my feet were starting to hurt. "Alone?" I asked him. "You said the crew was 10 people. Where are the others, Captain? What did you do? Robinson, did you even kill your own crew?" This time, the despicable man couldn't even look me in the eyes and put into words exactly what he did. For the first time since we started talking, I noticed a hint of remorse in his heartless eyes. He told me,
"None of that matters now. Goodbye, Hazel Johnson."
The scream that came out of me, ripping me apart from the chest, up my throat and past my lips, was the most desperate and brutal sound I had ever heard. It rang in my ears long after I stopped screaming. The smoke was rapidly filling the capsule. I probably had just a few seconds before the cryosleep took me again, and then I would never wake up. Captain Robinson, the most abhorrent thing I had ever met, would then use my body as he pleased, stealing my blood, bones, cells, and every atom of my body to replenish his corrupted soul. It was the worst fate imaginable, and I couldn't allow it. As the smoke reached my waist, I started fighting with everything I had, and then some more. My legs were almost numb with the cold gas enveloping them, but I forced my entire body to complain and fight back. I hit the glass on top of the capsule with my fists, with my arms, my shoulders, everything. I kicked every inch of the capsule I could reach. My knees hit the glass, and finally, I heard a crack on the surface. That sound was like a drug. It was a precious sliver of hope that brought me strength I didn't even know I had. Captain Robinson had underestimated me. He was so used to consuming innocent bodies, he forgot what it was like to be alive. That monster didn't remember the relief of waking up, the excitement for the future, and the power of fearing for your life. He had no idea how far a person would go to fight for their life. He woke me up to satisfy his sick pride, and I was ready to make him regret it. Every time I hit the lid of the capsule, I heard it crack and crack some more. Every time I kicked the walls and threw my body around, I felt the capsule shake on its hinges and threaten to fall apart. Finally, with a scream that was filled with hope instead of terror, I slammed my forehead into a crack in the glass right above me. The impact was worse than I imagined. It left me dazed. The glass shattered all around me, and broken shards rained on my body, cutting and scratching me all over. But god damn it, it was worth it. In a second, the smoke started to dissipate and spill over the open capsule. I was bleeding and breathing heavily, but I was awake and alive. With some difficulty, I sat up again and looked around. On my left, toward the exit of this great room, this mausoleum, I saw Captain Robinson standing still with wide eyes and a mouth parted in surprise. He was looking at me with every ounce of fear that I had expected to see in him. Part of me wished I could draw out his fear and make him struggle for as many years as he had been killing innocent people. But I didn't have that much patience. Instead, I found my way out of my capsule, stumbling and leaving bloodstains on the pristine surfaces. Then, I grabbed the biggest shard of glass I could find, and I started running. I slept for almost a century, but my body was preserved to perfection. I should have been numb or sore, but I had a good workout trying to break free of the capsule. Everything ached, but I couldn't care less. I stumbled and fell a couple of times, but that was nothing compared to what I had just escaped. Every time, I just got back up. And every time, I started running more smoothly and faster, with more rage pumping in my veins. Robinson had a head start, but when I finally spotted him ahead of me, nearing the doors of the room, I almost started laughing. He had been right when he said he was barely human. That messed up bag of stolen blood and bones moved like a pathetic little puppet. His joints creaked like an old wooden doors. His entire spine trembled, and he looked like he would break at any second. I had to focus, though. The room was immense, and I had to reach him before he crossed the doors, or else he could lock me there, all alone. He would expect me to die a long and painful death due to starvation, and I would surprise him by killing myself before he had the chance to do it. I wouldn't let him take my body, though. I had to reach him first. So, with all my muscles burning and feeling the rage of 1,000 wronged souls on my back, I ran as fast as I possibly could. I yelled at him, "Robinson, stop running! Weren't you infinite and powerful, like a god? What are you afraid of?" I was the hunter, and he was the prey now, and it felt incredible. He didn't turn around to face me, but I heard his reply. He said,
"You can't kill me! You need me! You don't know how to pilot a ship! You'll die all alone!"
He didn't get to say anything more. We were close to the door, but I jumped forward and tackled him onto the ground. I don't even know which sound was worse. His frail little bones and mushy, rotten organs hitting the cold floor with a wet crack, or the groan of tremendous agony that came out of him. It was disgusting. But it was a victory, and I was happy to take it. I pushed him to his back, so he was looking up at me, so I knew the fear and the helplessness of the people he killed. Then I slowly dug the glass into the middle of his chest. The first wound out of many. "I'll figure it out," I said. A second later, I really was the last surviving passenger on the YellowLight ship. Hi sci-fi horror fans, it's Kira Rhodes. Thank you to all the amazing VAs who took part in this project, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you to all of our official members of the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Craving another scary tale? Click on that video on your screen. Until next time everyone, and remember, stay cosmic.